Safety is of paramount importance here at the town of Barnstable, and we have a safety officer with me today, Megan Savage. Megan, you're starting some trainings, you're continuing trainings. Tell us a little bit about how the safety program got started here in the town of Barnstable.
Well, a few years ago, Dan Santos, the director, and Rob Steen, assistant director, had realized that safety was really lacking within the Department of Public Works, so they fought for a safety officer position to come in to help with that, to help create plans and make sure that the guys have a safe working environment, guys and girls. Make sure they have a safe working environment and somebody who is on top of it and tracking it. So they got me in.
Got you in. Part of what, when we think about safety, we think about, you know, Band-Aids and after the fact, but the safety training really literally is to make them work smarter.
Yeah,
correct?
So we're trying to be proactive so that we don't need the Band-Aids and we don't need the time off. So we've been working together, you know, with all the employees to come up with better safe operating procedures, better way to do things, you know, making sure we have all of the right safety equipment, that they have the right tools to get their job done effectively, efficiently, and safely.
Right. So how does this program dovetail with OSHA?
OSHA, we basically are following OSHA's regulations. OSHA is for the private sector, but the state has enacted, actually it'll be February of 2019, where it is law that all Massachusetts municipalities have to comply with OSHA regulations. So basically we are following OSHA's regs, and we're kind of a little bit ahead of the curve since we started a little bit earlier, creating safety plans, trenching and excavation, hazard communication, all of these plans that are required by OSHA for your employees. So we're getting there to be up to par with what OSHA is requiring.
Right. And Barnstable is the largest town here on the Cape out of the 15 towns. So you're actually helping other towns come into compliance as well with some safety trainings?
With the trainings, yes, absolutely. We've opened up to other towns an aerial rescue training, an electrical hazardous awareness training. We'll be holding flagger certification training next week that other towns are accompanying us with. There's going to be a large mower training coming up. So I've been hosting for a few months now to other towns to try to help them, because it's difficult to get off Cape and to send folks. They're usually very far away, Western Mass and stuff. So I've been working a lot with Bay State Roads to get instructors down here that we could open up to other towns.
Right. So just recently there was, and this one is near and dear to my heart as we come into the winter season and we woke up to snow this past week, is the storm damage training. People don't realize when they think that they can't get out on their roads because there's a tree down, there's a whole lot that goes into that. So tell us a little bit about the chainsaw and the storm damage training that happens.
So we've been doing chainsaw training the last couple of years. We started out with the level 1 and 2 basic safety training for techniques. And this storm damage training that we're doing, it's a 2-day course, helps with the different tensions that they have from a storm. It's not typical, you know, you go into a yard and you cut down one tree. When the storm happens and, you know, high winds, there's trees falling in every direction, and it gets very dangerous. If you cut in the wrong area, it could spring back and kill you. So this class shows you how to deal with those different tensions, different techniques that it was interesting to watch, because I never would have thought of some of the simple things that you can do to just keep yourself safe. Some of the simple techniques, and it's been excellent. I've heard nothing but great feedback. We have not only DPW guys, but some of the Marine Environmental Affairs folks have been coming too. So they went to the level 1 and 2 last week, and they're joining us for the storm damage this week. So. Right. It's been excellent.
And that goes right along also with this aerial one. When we were talking pre-interview, I hadn't realized it brought back a story that made you laugh from my past, but what happens when somebody gets caught in a bucket truck or in a tree?
So the aerial rescue training was for both bucket and for the climbers. We have a couple of arborists that are climbers. They'll climb up the tree and fell the tree. So for the bucket piece, they practice self-rescue. If the bucket, you know, was not able to function, if it got hit by another vehicle, something like that, they have emergency lines where you actually rappel out of the bucket. And I got to try it. It was scary and it was awesome. And then the climbing piece, we actually had one of our arborists, Mike White, had gone up, and there was a scenario being that the arborist that was in the tree got hit in the head, was unconscious. He had to climb up, hook up that individual, and then help get him down to safety, you know, in the scenario that EMS couldn't get there in appropriate time. But this gave them the right techniques to be able to do that, to help somebody if there was an emergency, to get them down faster so that, you know, once EMS did get on site, they could start treatment immediately, and we didn't have to wait for a ladder and everything else.
Right, and time can be of an essence when there's an
Yes.
accident like that. So we think about safety training and the tracking of some of these types of trainings. Because it's so new, you don't have any data yet. So what's moving forward? How will that track, and how will you find trends?
So currently I've started to create kind of a database for our folks of what trainings they've had, and we're working together with the different supervisors for what trainings they think each individual needs for the tasks that they perform, so that we can try, for new hires, get them into these trainings right away so that we can avoid any sort of injuries. As far as incident and injury tracking, anytime there's an accident or a near miss, an almost accident, I've been going in and doing investigations and, you know, how did this happen? Why did this happen? What can we do to prevent it from happening again? So we'll be tracking trends to see, you know, is it faulty equipment? Is it, you know, human error? You know, to figure out why these things are happening when there is an injury or an incident, so that we can hopefully prevent it from ever happening again.
Right. What kind of feedback are you getting from employees?
Yeah, it's funny. When I first started, people did not want to wear hard hats. I still get some gripes, but mostly the feedback is very positive. I get a couple of folks that say, I wish we could implant a GPS in you so I know when you're coming, so I know when to put the hard hat on. But other than that, mostly everybody's been pretty good, and they actually, we have a group of folks that are on the safety committee, and we try to meet monthly. It's not always that great. Things are so busy, but you know, I actually have folks that will come to me and say, all right, Meg, this is what we're doing. What can you help me with? You know, or I need different PPE. The homeless camp cleanups we do. You know, just having the puncture-resistant gloves, and you know, for some of them they're very, very nasty. And making sure we have right coveralls, Tyvek suits, and things like that. So they're actually being proactive and coming to me and say, this is the scenario. How can you help me? What can we do to make this better? So honestly, it's been super positive. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be a bigger fight. I'm not going to lie.
But again, as they start to go through some of these trainings, they realize the importance and then start to think on their own,
Yes.
geez, well, I'm going to encounter this type of situation maybe in 2 months or maybe in a half a year because we're doing X,
Right.
and they're already starting to think safety.
Yep. So we're getting there. We
Excellent.
still have a couple of tough nuts to crack, but that's anywhere you go.
Anywhere you go. What do you want folks to know, our citizens, when your crews are out there, how can we help you be safer?
Pay attention in work zones. That's the biggest thing, especially, you know, we talked about the aerial rescue and the bucket trucks. There's been so many injuries from folks that have hit a truck when a worker is in it. You know, so work zones, slow it down and just pay attention, be cognizant, understand that these folks, especially during storms, have been working for hours and hours, sometimes 24, 40 hours nonstop. So give them space and, you know, let them do their job safely so they can get home to their families.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Megan.
Thank you.